All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is your host, Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer. We're going to give it just a moment here to make sure we have a transmission. Make sure that the notifications are going out and that we're live. All right. Looks like we have a signal, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Joe Imbriano, the Fullerton Informer, coming to you live from the busted up streets of Fullerton, California, under this heavily chemtrailed sky. That's right, folks. Live from Fullerton, California, a woken and broken town run by criminals. And I can tell you firsthand, from my experience with local government officials, that this town has got big problems. Every town's got big problems, folks, because everyone's asleep at the switch. So today is Monday, November 21st, 2022. And I wanted to come to you and talk about, well, I guess the first thing we can talk about is that. Today, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration released a weather forecast for 2022 predicting a triple dip La Nina, where they talk about how we're in our third year of La Nina conditions, folks. Now, for those of you who don't know, those are atmospheric or climatic phenomena. An El Nino condition is where equatorial waters warm and move into the area here of Western California and the Pacific Ocean off of our coast. And that generally brings a wet and moist winter with a lot of snow and rain. And then the opposite of that is a La Nina condition, which they're predicting for the third year in a row. Well, look at the sky, ladies and gentlemen. That's how the sky looks the day that the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration puts out their weather forecast for a dry winter in California. This is unbelievable, folks. Can you guys see the sky? There, look at the sky. You see it? The sky's covered with white powder. You know, there's a big cold front hitting the northwestern United States in a day or so. Seattle, I think, is going to get hit pretty good. So, you know, this is how they block the rain. We've talked about this, all right? So, anyway, let's deal with the reality here, folks. Now, can you guys see me okay? Okay, good. So, yeah, they're releasing the information. So what they do is they spray up the sky and tell you it's climate change and tell you that we're in a La Nina weather pattern. Folks, I got news for you. I understand the weather. I understand the cyclical patterns and how the ocean currents are tied in with all kinds of stuff, folks. And this is not a La Nina season, folks. We're in an El Nino weather pattern. And they're calling it the opposite, and they're dumping all kinds of crap in the sky and drying us out and telling us we're in a La Nina. So the government is going to lie to you about everything. And I guess we can get a better view of it here. I mean, this is crazy. The sky was just we've had a Santa Ana condition here, and the sky's been blue. It's been 75 degrees, beautiful weather. They even create that, okay? It's ridiculous. Oh, I'm finally leaving Fullerton. I can actually not have kidney disease from driving my car bouncing up and down on these roads. Okay. All right, so, you know, this is all just more of the same, folks. They just lie to us and they mess with everything. And look, I can't stop those planes, but I can tell you that you're being scammed, okay? And everything they're telling you that is causing these weather phenomena is not true. The fact of the matter is they're causing the weather phenomenon, and it's pretty darn obvious. Another really serious issue we have, and by the way, you know, this whole climate change thing, you know, you're not going to be able to have more than, a few gallons of water per person per day. You're going to be brushing your teeth in your toilet water at the rate they're going. It's already happening in most places where they're recycling sewage. I want to tell you something. If you have a water supply, and I don't care if it's a well, a river lake, or a municipal tie-in to a city or county watershed, you better filter that stuff because you have no idea what they're putting in it. You guys hear me okay? All right, so you gotta realize that the goal with this weather modification is to do away with a lot of things that our society relies on, like the internal combustion engine, like burning wood to stay warm, gasoline cars to drive places, coal and natural gas fired power plants. Things that our society relies on are going to get taken away if they can get away with convincing you that the weather is changing because of the burning of these petroleum products and wood products. By the way, petroleum is a renewable resource. The earth creates oil constantly. It is a constant process. It's not made out of decomposed, fossilized plants or dead dinosaurs. How did a dinosaur swim 30,000 feet to the bottom of the ocean and then dig himself a hole another 20,000 feet below the ground and go in there and crawl in there and drop dead and then decompose? Are you folks? They've got these oil rigs that are, in 20,000 feet of water or whatever. It's something insane. I mean, you can't even go down that far without the pressure crushing everything in your body, okay? And then you got to dig a hole when you got no oxygen, and you're going to dig a hole 2 miles deep and crawl in there with your buddies. And apparently you took a lot of your friends in there with you because these reserves allegedly are massive, right? So there's, hundreds of millions of barrels of oil. That means, I don't know, 1 million dinosaurs crawled in there. Folks, the earth creates this stuff, okay? The earth also creates renewable resources like wood, okay? Like trees. They grow and they make wood. They don't want you to be able to heat your home, and they want you to be relying on electricity so they can shut it off. They can shut your electric car off. They can shut your appliances off. They can shut you off. And that ties me into this next topic, which is a really big, important topic. And, the news is going to have all kinds of crap, filling your head full of nonsense and distractions. But the real issue that's going on right now is the G20 meeting, where they just adopted global vaccine passports. Now, I'm not a global person, okay? I just use that term because they use that term. I'm just telling you what they're doing. The G20, this group of nations, these leaders that have finally gotten together and screws to us. They've tried for years to get a consensus to adopt vaccine passports. Well, they've done it. Now, if you're all caught up in the emotion of the moment of, who's getting divorced on celebrity TV or, what's for dinner on the cooking channel, I need you to listen to me. Because there are people in this world who protect the deniers of Jesus Christ, who print the money and control everything through the printing of this money, who then enslave nations through loaning this printed money, that really are going all the way and going along with the agenda of the deniers of Jesus Christ to make sure every man, woman, and child on the face of this earth get injected with whatever is deemed necessary in however many doses, at however many intervals, and at whatever frequency is deemed necessary by the medical establishment that allegedly has a vested interest in maintaining public health to prevent alleged pandemics. They will track and trace the entire human race if they have their way. Now, you know, in Spanish, you know, I really used to enjoy the way some of the stuff sounded in Spanish, you know, these dichos, these sayings, because they don't rhyme in English, but they rhyme in Spanish. But I'll tell you one that's really important and very relevant. Del dicho del hecho hay un gran trecho. I'll say it again. Well, I won't say it again. I'll tell you what it means. Basically, it means del dicho del hecho hay un gran trecho. In other words, between the spoken word and what has been done lies a great chasm. It's a lot easier to say you're going to do something than go ahead and try to do it, right? To get the whole world vaccinated is not going to be an easy task. But they have announced that they are officially moving in that direction. And so their goal will be to make it impossible for you and me to live and travel and run a business and engage in commerce, pursue happiness, and have freedom unless we roll up our sleeves and let them push the plunger into our bloodstream with whatever they can concoct, whatever they can cook up, whatever they deem necessary at whatever frequency, intervals, or regularity to inject us with in the interest of protecting public health. Or you will have a credit score of 0. Your money will expire as they move us into a digital currency. You could starve to death, be homeless, not be able to borrow money or pay your rent or pay your mortgage or buy a car or rent a hotel or, you know, pay your water bill. I mean, they're going in this direction, folks. Okay? And this is really important because no one's talking about this. Now, how do we stop this? Well, I'm not sure that we can stop what these guys are doing unless we stop their printing presses, okay? The fact of the matter is that, the banks like the Federal Reserve that's run by the deniers of Jesus Christ who print money out of thin air, they take this fancy paper and they print these sheets of paper with green ink, put a couple of RFID slivers in it, and all of a sudden, you know, a $6 ream of paper is worth enough money to build a 10,000-room hotel. And so what do? They take all this money, they loan it. What they do is they take this paper, because I don't know how they got Woodrow Wilson to do this, whether they had, you know, some dirt on the guy, they blackmailed him, they had him doing stuff with children or whatever. But Woodrow Wilson destroyed the United States by signing the Federal Reserve Act, okay? And what that did is it handed the authority to a private bank to coin money for the United States. Now, I know most people do not understand where our money comes from because the public schools are a criminal enterprise run by the people who print the money. The books are controlled, the publishing houses are, everything is controlled by the money masters, folks. And we're all exchanging our labor and our time and our efforts and our durable goods, commodities, intellectual property, our creativity, our creations, our assets, our resources in exchange for this funny money. They get to print as much as they want of it. And they also get to set the rate at which they lend it. See, the borrower is a slave to the lender. And so they've gotten a lot of nations on board with this usury system, and usually they'll take like countries like the United States and Great Britain, and they'll just use the military to bomb these people back to the Stone Age until they give in. Or they'll just, bring mounds of cocaine and hookers into the presidential palace somewhere and film it, and the guy will get all jacked up and sign on a dotted line, and then there goes the country, right? Then they create these wind-up toys like communism and Bolshevism and Marxism and fascism and all these isms, right? That are just wind-up toys of the deniers of Jesus Christ to enslave and murder humanity. The more money they print, the less valuable it becomes, and then they play with the interest rates. They make it more expensive to get your hands on it. But the bottom line is, folks, the Federal Reserve is not a federal entity. It's a private bank run by the deniers of Jesus Christ who print money out of thin air and then loan it to our government and charge them interest. And our government levies income tax on our wages and everything else, and our business income and everything else, to pay the debt to the private bank. And then the banks borrow the money from the government, and they loan that money to us. And so everybody's spinning their wheels just trying to survive and get home in time for the ball game and, put a roof over their heads and, they got everybody on a treadmill as they're dragging their children off to school at 6:30 in the morning to learn lies to keep the system rolling down the tracks. Well, they're coming with a rope for everyone's neck with what's going on, folks. They're going to put a rope around everyone's neck, an electronic one, and they can adjust that noose at will, on a whim, remote control, so to speak. Because when we go to a digital currency and when we go to vaccine passports, unless you roll up your sleeve and literally bow the knee at the altar of Baal for these serums that they are going to cook up, you might just become an economic refugee. And a lot of those people you see living in the streets might be you. The reason I talk about this stuff is you need to get prepared for what's coming. And if your position on vaccines is one of refusal, then you better be prepared for what lies ahead, because your life is going to be turned upside down. And when I say prepare, I mean prepare in all manners and semblances of the word preparation. So you need to understand how this is done. And you need to understand what their plans are. Their plans are eventually to totally control every aspect of our life, with the ultimate intent of getting rid of 95% of the people on the face of this earth. And that can be done through wars. That can be done through starvation. That can be done through poisoning. Wars can be created through false flag attacks, through media fraud, through green screen fake events. Starvation can be induced by manipulation of economic policies, manipulation of interest rates, manipulation of trade policies. Basically, starvation is something that is induced by the stroke of a pen in general terms. Now, they can also use weather warfare to induce crop failure. They can also use wars and weather warfare and economic manipulation to induce crop failure and starvation through disruptions in trade and the like. They can also poison everybody by putting something in the water, so filter your water. They can use electromagnetic frequencies to target you and make you think you've got some disease. They can poison you by putting something in a very common food or beverage that people drink that people would never suspect of being tainted. It is very easy to poison the well, folks, okay? Because most people do not question what's in the food they eat, do not question what's in the drink they're consuming, do not question what's in their water, do not question what that device is that has these antennas that they just brought into their house that's got some demon face on it that Johnny's hooking up to play video games. People do not question things. And the reason I do these videos is so people will question things and protect themselves. We face a real enemy that is monolithic in nature, that has permeated every aspect of our society. When you control the money, you control everything. Because if you have enough money, you can buy politicians, you can buy property, you can buy industries, you can consolidate industries, you can monopolize the real estate holdings, and you can monopolize political power. And the only thing that stands in the way of political power is an armed population. And look what's going on now, right? Another shooting. Whether it's real or not, I can't say. Whether it was a false flag or not, I can't say. Whether the person was a mind-controlled Manchurian candidate, MK-Ultra military operative, I can't say. But all I can say is that what can you expect in a nation that is obsessed with death? What do you expect from a population that is force-fed blood and gore and murder and violence and evil and filth and satanic imagery? Everything is about barbaric bloodletting on these video games, on these movies about video games. I mean, for crying out loud, there are grown adults that watch movies that are made out of mythical video game, dark age, battles of murdering and killing. Folks, you will get turned over. You will get turned over to the desires of your heart. I will tell you that God will do that to people and to nations as a whole. And they have been trying for a very, very long time to program the American people to become killers so they can take our guns away and eventually kill us. Oh, it's always a long gun. It's always a high capacity, mag. And, it's always, they're always telling us that we can't have the stuff we need to protect ourselves against the government if the government decides to turn on us. They want us to trust the government, right? They want us to be defenseless and, let the government protect us. Have you noticed how the government's emptying the jails? People want the government to protect them. Have you noticed how the police aren't enforcing the traffic violations anymore? People are running red lights and there's all these car accidents. People are speeding. They want the government to protect us. Have you noticed how the borders are wide open and the country's being overrun by all kinds of gangsters from all over the world? But people want the government to protect us. Did you notice that this country has become something that is almost unrecognizable in a lot of the parts of the United States that were once magnificent hubs of manufacturing, enterprise, morality, and law and order that have descended into utter drug-induced, degenerate chaos and filth that are not even safe in broad daylight when you're packing heat? It's really crazy. But they've been working overtime for a long time with the movie industry to demonize being a moral, decent human being. They glamorize the vile, filthy, violent, evil, murdering, lustful, prideful, arrogant, sinister, murderous villain, right? Everything's about guns, killing people, and bombing and blowing things up, and car crashes and plane crashes and bombings and this and that and the other. And they glamorize all this stuff, and all we do is absorb it and imbibe it and pay to go see these movies and pay to rent these movies. And they got these video games where everybody's killing each other. They got this music that glamorizes murder and rape and robbery and gun violence. And we wonder, I mean, let's say that the American people have shown great restraint. They even have these things where they can mind control somebody and make them do it. And then they have the ability to green screen and fake things to make us think somebody did it. And then they can turn the story around and make it seem like that somebody did it that didn't do it. And they can say that this person thought this, or said that, and that's why they did it. So they can take it further and demonize a particular group of people, clamp down on free speech and the gun rights. So they can have their way with us when they want to go tyrannical on us. Folks, the reason I talk about these things is I want you to understand the agenda. You know, I'll be honest with you. I don't have a lot of resources, but I do have a lot of, let's just say, motivation to do what's right and to get the truth out and try to help people and make their lives better, because God has tremendously blessed me with my salvation and a wonderful wife and family. And, you know, God has been very gracious to me and forgiven me for much of my past and washed all my sins away through what his son did on the cross for me, what Jesus did. And, you know, I have this tremendous debt to pay back. Even though the debt was paid, I just feel it's incumbent upon me and it's expected of me to give back, because to whom much is given, much is required. And my point is that I don't have these massive studios and screenwriters and key grips and cameraman and sounds, you know, sound systems. And I don't have, you know, all of this electronic technology and broadcasting systems where I can, you know, have stuff 24/7. And they do. And they use it all for evil. Every ounce of it. The deniers of Jesus Christ use all of their weapons against us because they serve the prince of the power of the air. They serve the God of this age. They deny Jesus Christ, they hate Jesus Christ, and they hate us. And they have everything at their disposal that they've purchased with the money that they've printed to sicken our minds, to weaken our bodies, to pollute our souls, to corrupt our hearts, and to make us full of vile, filthy thoughts and hatred and lust and desires for demonic, evil, violent things, so that we will lose control of our physical ability to self-restrain and act in such a way that would be conducive for them to take all our rights away and say, see, you're no longer worthy of what rights you thought you had. That is the problem, folks, and that's what we face, and that is why everything is converging now, because they have a short window, because the internet and these communication systems are a double-edged sword for them. They use these platforms to track everybody. They use these platforms to develop algorithms on what to expect. You know, they just like they ran this COVID-19 operation so that they could gauge, you know, the preparedness of the infrastructure to deal with lockdowns and quarantines, and even though it was just a slight warm-up drill. They also use this to develop algorithms to measure and gauge what levels of resistance that they would face that were directly proportionate to the levels of restrictions that they put in place. And they're not done with that either, folks. There's another round coming, and there'll be another round after that. They'll continue to flex and tighten until they have the rope around our necks. The reason I'm telling you all this is so you understand, and I don't want any of you going back to sleep thinking that everything's hunky-dory. Things have never been worse, folks. Okay? Things have never been worse, because right now they're putting everybody back to sleep and they're giving everybody distraction stories as they just, you know, the G20, you know, not that they have authority over me, because the authority, I mean, folks, at what point do you say no, right? Everyone's got their line. in the sand, ladies and gentlemen. You need to understand that you need to draw yours. And be prepared to say no to whatever you feel is an assault on your body, on your brain, on your being. Because the threat's real, folks. It's real. And it came to pass, as they were much perplexed thereabout, behold, two men stood by them in shining garments. And as they were afraid and bowed down their faces to the earth, they said unto them, Why seek ye the living among the dead? He is not here, but is risen. Remember how he spake unto you when he was yet in Galilee, saying, The Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful men and be crucified, and on the third day rise again. And they remembered his words. And they returned from the sepulchre and told all these things unto the 11 and to all the rest. And it was Mary Magdalene and Joanna and Mary, the mother of James, and other women that were with them, which told these things to the apostles. And their words seemed to have as idle tales as they believed them not. Folks, if that tomb couldn't hold him, if those nails that went in his hands and in his feet and that slash in his side and that stone and that burial cloth and that whole process couldn't hold him, what do you think we got to lose, folks? We got nothing to lose because we already won. Because he has the keys to death and hell and eternal life. Repent and believe in Jesus Christ and stop being afraid and make preparation for what is coming. And don't go to sleep and pretend everything is fine, and start making preparations for the dark times ahead, because they've been coming. They never stopped coming. They just continue to run narrative after narrative to mess with your head. You've got to understand these people are psychopaths. Okay, and psychopaths, 1 minute will be nice to you, the next minute they'll be smacking you in the face. 1 minute they'll be telling you how wonderful things are, the next minute they'll be telling you how horrible things are. 1 minute they're telling you, oh, peace and safety, no worries. The next thing they'll be saying, oh my gosh, we're under attack. They are psychopaths who hate you and want you dead. Why do you think everything on television, everything in the music, everything in the magazines, everything on the shelf in the bookstores is filth? Why do you think everything on the shelves in the grocery store, by and large, is designed to make you sick, fat, and neat? Can't you see it, ladies and gentlemen? Can't you see? Can't you see what they're doing to us? Can't you see what they've done? Can't you see? When you go to the store, when you go to the grocery store, why do you think everything on the shelf is designed to make you sick and fat and weaken you and make you sick so you'll need meds so you can get poisoned? Why do you think everything on the television is designed to mess up children and make you cheat on your wife and make you want to go out children and make you cheat on your wife and make you want to go out and kill somebody? Because that's what they want you to do. Somebody. Because that's what they want you to do. So what do? Shut it off. Don't buy it. Tell the truth to your children. Why do you think school is mandatory? Why do you think they make you go to school? Why is school free and mandatory? Think about it. What are they teaching you in school? They will never teach you where the money comes from or who prints it. They will only tell you what they want you to know so you'll be a good slave. You know, I had to go to a pharmacy over the weekend, and I got a couple of those naloxone things. I think that's what they're called, where you stick it up your nose if you're exposed to fentanyl. Because, I want to have these, I have them for my family, and in case somebody touches something, they end up, going into whatever. But I looked at these people that were lining up to get all this stuff in the pharmacy, and I'm looking at all these meds, and I looked at these people were all in decline. You know, it's just obvious that they're poisoning everybody. You go to the grocery store, the stuff these people are putting in the carts, it's criminal. People are being poisoned. People are being weakened. The schools, look what the schools are doing to the children. You know, first they brought in the wireless, you know, and, you know, that causes cancer, it causes infertility, it causes insomnia. And then they make these children stare at these blue light screens and makes them go blind. It makes them have insomnia. And I got this neighbor who lobbied for bringing wireless in. And then, you know, the clown makes this big dissertation on how wonderful the screens are for learning. And they double down, and all of this is so they can force feed you lies and ruin your mind. Fake science, junk science, fake history, everything's fake. It's all irrelevant. Just get ready, folks. That's all I can tell you. I mean, really, because the day is coming where your hearts are going to be tested, and you don't want to be unprepared for this, all right? Look, I got to get off this thing. We've been going for a half hour. Folks, welcome back. I'm glad you joined me. Pay close attention to this information and understand the big picture, folks, and understand your part and your place in it. Put Jesus Christ at the forefront of everything you do. And if you're going to read anything in the Bible, read his words. Let's start with that and stick with that, okay? All right, folks, take care in Jesus' name. Take care. Signing out. Over and out. Bye-bye.